Welcome to B2B Marketing Methods. I'm your host, Terri Hoffman, and I'm the CEO of Marketing Refresh. Let's face it, embracing digital marketing is daunting. This podcast was created to make it more approachable. Join me as we talk to CEOs, sales leaders, and revenue growth experts who will share lessons learned and tips from their own journeys. Everyone, welcome to this week's episode of the B2B Marketing Methods podcast. I'm really excited today to have a guest named Fedor Simic with us. Fedor is the partnership manager at DataBox. And for those of you who aren't familiar, I'm going to have him explain what his company does, what his role is in the company, and we'll kind of unravel all of that through our conversation. Some of the points that we're going to be touching on is our marketing metrics, the value of analyzing your marketing program metrics. They have a software package that lets you do that in a very easy way with like hundreds of connections that they have to different software packages. We're going to be talking about a new program that they created that is called their benchmark groups. I'm going to have him unravel that. It's something I talk about on LinkedIn quite frequently, but I thought it would be great to have Fedor on as a guest so he can dig in a little bit deeper and help my listeners really learn more about the value of those benchmark groups. So welcome, Fedor. It's really great to have you on. Thank you for taking the time to join me today.
Thank you for having me here. It's great to be
Yeah.
here, honestly.
Good. So let's start by telling people something they would never know because you're in a totally different time zone than I am. I'm here in Colorado. Tell us about where you're based. Where do you
Oh,
work
yeah.
every day?
I work every day from my grandma's apartment. I live in a small city in Serbia called Subotica. It's at the north of the country. So it's really near the border to Hungary. So like getting to Hungary is like a 30-minute drive,
Okay.
including the wait at the border. But the reason like that I'm working from here is I try to separate work from home. I got bored of working every day from my apartment, so I decided like, hey, it's time to either rent out an office or find somewhere else to work from, just to like have a relationship with work that I lacked. So grandma was really open and she let me move in and have my own room. There used to be pictures of me when I was a kid in the background, but I changed them.
Oh man, bring them
I
back.
used,
I think that would be
yeah,
fun. That is
I
super
might
generous
consider
of
it.
her. Do you get like grandma lunch included sometimes?
Oh, do we have to go? Yes,
No,
every day.
there you go. No, that sounds like it works well for both of you then. That's fun.
Trying to solve a huge pain point in my life, and that's what have you eaten today and why haven't you eaten something? We
Aw,
go there every day, literally. That's how our conversations start each morning.
I think that's really sweet. That's nice. So tell me about how you got started at DataBox because you've been there, what now, 4 or 5 years? Handful of
No,
years?
actually, it's going to be
Longer?
3 years in October
3 years.
this year.
Okay.
So only 3 years. And it's funny, I was dissatisfied with my old job and I just started looking and out of the blue I found DataBox. I applied for the customer support role.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, actually it was technical support specialist because I have like a tech background, I guess. I was a software engineer at a previous company. And then I started off in customer support. And after 2 months, I moved into customer onboarding. So that was like my first time talking with people on calls. And then I went into account management. And then around a year, maybe a year and a half ago, I moved into partnership manager. And that's where I am now. I really like it. It's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
fun. It's super challenging and every day is different. Two things I really love, because I don't like smooth sailing. It's boring. I just like being challenged, pushed, and learning new things. And that's what I do every day. So
Oh,
super happy here.
that's awesome. So, yeah, this is fun for me too because I didn't really know much about your background prior to this role that you're in. How did you make the transition from a software engineering role to a company that primarily focuses on like marketing data and marketing metrics?
That is a good question. I believe it has to do with my computer skills, I would say. Like I
Mhm.
was always on the computer. I was like a gamer when I was a kid. I grew up with video games. I was always spending time on the computer. And then like that kind of connected with this. And I was learning marketing on my own. So used to own a small e-commerce store,
Okay.
did drop shipping a bit, it didn't really work out that great, but I actually managed to sell my store for around $400, even though I haven't really invested a lot of money into it. I sold around 100 products, which is really interesting, without any marketing experience. Like, I didn't know to run ads. I didn't know anything what I was doing, but I posted comments on YouTube and I got sales for that. I don't know how it worked, but yeah, that's kind of like my entry point to marketing. And
Okay.
then obviously like through working with DataBox, I just learned this whole other part like that I had no idea about,
Yeah.
before.
That's really interesting though, because I bet it gives you a good ability to relate to some of your customers and the end users of your product who are also just starting to learn how to use that data and how to analyze it and interpret it because you've been there. Like you've had to start at that point if you didn't, have a marketing degree and work under somebody who was like a director of marketing or at an agency environment. So I bet that gives you a great ability to relate to people when they're at the beginning of that learning process.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
It's started with the data. I just got access to all this data because our users connect all their data, right? And I was just exposed to all this data, and that kind of like then I backtracked into each platform, and I kind of like learned more about each platform, like Facebook, Google, Instagram. Like, I started learning through the data about those platforms and then just connected it through there. So it was
Yeah.
kind of like reverse engineering in sort of a way.
Yeah. I think that's a great way to learn it. Why don't we have you explain who DataBox is? What does your company do? What's your mission at DataBox?
So DataBox, the easiest way to explain is that we're an analytics tool, and we make it very easy for you to centralize all your data, connect all your data to one place, then track it, visualize it, report on it, forecast it, and benchmark it. So we have 100+ integrations, and we made it really, really easy to use that data and report on it, put it on dashboards, visualize it, and then all the other things come as extra, like forecasting, benchmarking, generative AI to summarize your data and dashboards. So there's a really small like entry point. You don't have to have a lot of knowledge on using the tool, but you can get really into it, like go into the details really fast. So like it's a really easy tool to learn, but it takes a bit of time to master it because you can go really deep into the data and do
Yeah,
so many other things.
I agree. I'm very biased because it's the platform our agency uses. It's a service, but it's really a support service to the marketing that we do is reporting. I think if you have a marketing program without reporting in place, you can't improve something that you're not measuring and tracking. And so the reporting is the key. It's the underlying fundamental that you have to have in place. Our agency has tried different platforms, and we actually just made the transition to DataBox last year. And it's to me head and shoulders above the rest that are out there on the market, and we've tried a lot of them. So we're happy we found DataBox. Like some of the things that you can connect into it that if you're in marketing would be pretty obvious, but you can track your website metrics, your social media metrics. You can even look at your CRM and connect HubSpot or Salesforce or other CRM tools into it, which I think is super helpful. But the reason I wanted to have you on today is because I think one of the more advanced things you can do in the new program that you guys created is the benchmark groups. So you've put together a whole certification program around that, but maybe you could just start by explaining why you created the benchmark groups and what the value of those groups is.
Yeah, definitely. So we always had some form of benchmarking, right? With DataBox, you could do historical benchmarking. So you can compare your current results to your past results. That's one form of benchmarking. But then we didn't want to stop there. We wanted to kind of expand, not into like competitor benchmarking, because that you can only benchmark certain things that are publicly visible and to get into competitor analysis. But we want to expand into industry benchmarking, kind of offer more insights for companies so they could use our benchmarking tool, which is free, that we build on top of our other tool, and the accounts are shared across, the data points are shared across. So we built that other tool so companies can have one place where they can get insights into how they should perform, basically to be able to tell like, hey, this is me and this is me versus companies similar to me. So we're building this massive data set where companies will be able to come and find where they stand, what's going good, get ideas what can be improved, what can be doubled down upon, and just see how they're comparing companies similar to theirs, and then work on improving those metrics with DataBox.
Yep.
This is just looking at a high level, but it sets you off in a direction, right? And then you would want to investigate deeper into the data and try to improve certain parts of each metric to get that ultimate boost in performance that you're seeking.
Yeah. Well, I immediately jumped into this program when I heard about it because when we're reviewing metrics each month with our clients, one of the first things they ask us is they need context, right? So if we show them, hey, here's how your Google ads are performing, and we tell them, oh, there's a, you know, 3% conversion rate. Their reaction is, so is that good or bad? What does that mean? Give me context, right? And that's what I love about the benchmarking product is that it immediately provides them as the client with context, but it helps us guide the conversation and then make better decisions because we can see, does this need to be improved? Does this need to be scrapped? Does it need to be built upon because it's going so well? Like, have we stumbled upon a real gem here? So the benchmarks I think are awesome because it gives you that context and it helps you see where you fit in the industry. Like, are we doing okay? That industry differentiation is just so hard as marketers for us to find. We all Google search for it every single day. And I'm sure you guys see that, how often people
Yep.
are searching for it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So
And
how many, oh, go ahead.
And it also helps you see what's possible, not just what's good and bad, but like where is the limit? What performance should we aspire to achieve? And it helps you a lot with aligning goals, setting new goals, and just helps you set your whole path to performance. So yeah, it helps you a lot. Get
Yeah, it plays into the strategy and your tactical, like day-to-day decision making. If you haven't dug into the data as a business person or somebody who's in charge of a sales department, it kind of opens a new world to you where you might think marketing is just this creative field, and it is, but there's so much more to that if you have a digital marketing program in place that is way more about metrics and data and using that to make decisions, using that research. So I love it. But if you could go a little bit deeper into how you let people access these groups, because you have an entire section on your website. If I were in a business role and wasn't working through an agency or was working through an agency and I was just kind of trying to ideate, I feel like that section on your website just has tons of pieces of gold in it. Can you talk about that?
So the truth is in the data. That's kind of like what we've always been saying in the company. And this is all using data. It's not you inputting your values for metrics. No, it's basically pulling the data directly from the integration. So whatever you have in your Google Ads account, your Facebook Ads account, it's being pulled directly into each group that you join. And it's doing the same for the other members that are in the group. So when you find a group that best matches your space, you can filter by industry, by business type, by company size, by revenue range, and you can find a group that best matches your business. And you can find integrations like data points that you want to benchmark for. And then you can find a group, join it, and it will instantly tell you like, hey, this is going good, that you're maybe like in the middle, or maybe this is going bad. Like, and then you just know what matters to you, which metrics matter to you, and then you can improve those metrics and get that ultimate boost in performance.
Yep.
We also have Benchmarks Explorer, which is different to groups because there you can just pick metrics that you want and then filter them and find what metrics you want to see, compare against, and you can build your own report, but it won't show you where you stand within those metrics. That's the difference between the Explorer and the groups. But Explorer you can use without even signing up for an account. So like you can use it just off the bat. You have around 10 searches, I think, and then you can find what you want to look into, get insights, and compare with your data on your own. So that's an easy way to use the
Yeah.
Explorer functionality.
So since you're talking to your partners every day, so your partners are basically marketing agencies. Is that correct? Is that pretty much the makeup of your partner?
The people that we advise to build benchmark groups
Hmm.
are agencies because they have access to their clients' data. It's not just their own company data, right? But
Yeah.
any type of company can get value out of benchmarks. But
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I
it's
agree.
the agencies that bring in additional value because they bring in this large data set that helps not only them being able to tell like how their average client performs, but everyone else because they benefit from having more data to compare against in these groups in Explorer. So it's just every additional company that joins adds value to everyone else. That's how it works.
Yep. Yeah. So how do you guys go about building up the list of people who are connecting their data into that? Because that's really where the value comes from, right? You've got to have more companies who are connecting their data sources into that. How do you guys work on kind of building up the group of companies participating in the groups?
Do you mean like building each specific benchmark group or just
Hmm.
as a whole? Uh-huh.
Yeah, what's your strategy? I mean, I already know the answer to this, but I want our audience to learn how they can kind of get invited into a group. Like, how do you guys go about getting more companies connected so that the value of that benchmark data continues to build?
We first built the groups ourselves. We kind of like
Hmm.
created what we call open groups, right? So anyone can join, but like we hit a limit, right? We're not experts in each industry. We don't have access to each industry. Like we don't know people from each industry. And then we figured like, hey, we could partner with agencies that are specialized in these industries and they can bring this data set in, which will add value to everyone else. It will just enrich the data, make it more valuable for everyone. So that's when we decided to allow other agencies to kind of like build their own groups. We would call those group private groups because they kind of have the keys to the group. They can control who gets added to the group. So typically they would invite first their clients. And then if they would want to open it up to more people, then they would share a link so other people can join. They also control the members, so like they can add members, remove members, but if they don't have access to the data, like the data source, they won't see anyone else's data, right? Even as the owner of the group, if someone joins through you inviting them, you don't see their data. You just see them as a member of the group. And vice versa. Someone else joining the group doesn't see anyone else's name who's in the group. They just see, hey, this is me against the group, and this is where I stand. And that's it. And how many companies are in the group. So it's completely anonymous. There's no like infringement of the data. There's no leaking of the data. It's completely secure and it's going to be accurate unless you have poor data management in your integration, which is not as often of a case. It's probably like one in or two in 100.
Right. Yeah. But I think that's been something that I've heard from our clients and other companies that I'm working with who might be prospects of ours is they're worried. It can be scary to connect your data and then know that it could then be exposed and maybe shared publicly because they might be thinking like, well, I don't want to join because maybe we're not doing that well and I wouldn't necessarily want my competitors to know that or other people who are peers in my industry to know that. I think what you just explained is a huge value point. No one else is going to see your name attached
Nope.
to that's a really big deal. So why not join? Like what are some of the other reasons that it becomes difficult, do you think, for companies to join one of the benchmark groups? What do you hear about that?
I mean, when they want to join one of our groups, they're more open to it. But like when one of our partners talks about their own benchmark group, they think, oh, ultimately, this is like a sales tool. Like they want to sell me something. But that's really not the case. Like, as I said, even if you do join the group, you can only get value out of it, right? So, like, if you join a group of an agency and you compare against their clients and you're doing good, like that's wind in your back. You're working on your own and you're achieving these amazing results. Meanwhile, if you're not doing that great, like maybe it will point you in a direction of what things you can improve to achieve better performance, or it can tell like, hey, maybe I should work with someone to help me with achieve this better performance, right? So I think there's really no downside to it because you'll just get answers, right? Why wouldn't you like to get answers?
Right. Yeah. I completely agree with you. I do think that one of the things that I see holds companies back from joining is that they may just not have the logins to their own platforms so that they can connect to the benchmark group. And that, that often presents a challenge, which I think is why your partnerships with marketing agencies has been really effective in helping to solve that, because the people on like my company's team or other agencies you work with, we can help get those connections made. I want the data set that we have access to be larger. And if somebody in that data set wants to talk to us about their marketing activities, great. But that's not something that we try to impose upon them by joining. We offer it. And if they want to, they want to. And if that's not something they're prioritizing, like you said, at least they're getting the comparisons of the data for their own marketing team to see, hey, is this working? Is it not working? Where are opportunities to kind of expand from here, right? Yeah, I think there's
Yeah.
nothing but positives to
And
joining.
And through the course, we kind of help our partners learn to host that free consultation call. So like that's an additional set of value you can get. Like there's no strings attached to booking a free consultation call to talk about your metrics. You can only get more value out of it, even if you don't end up taking that agency as a partner that you want to help you with.
Yeah.
Nothing but value you can get out of it.
Well, so what are some of the successes that you've seen from the companies that you work with? Are there some that come to mind where you're like, oh, this is a way it helped a brand by first joining one of our groups? What are some of those successes?
Yeah, one really large success that I know is from one of our other partners who works with one huge franchise of mental health clinics. And they did some form of benchmarking before, but it was really, really manual. Like they were using a spreadsheet, and you know how it is. It takes a lot of time. It's prone to errors because you rely on everything being really, really accurate. And then with manual entry, there's always room for a mistake, right? So when they heard about benchmarks, they were really fascinated. So they built their own group and put 100 locations of that franchise into the group. So they're really able to compare and see the average performance across all the locations, right? So that's really an interesting case because that they had the same ad copy running for all the locations. Some were in cities, some were in rural areas, but everything had to be kind of like the same, tell the same story. So their idea was to take a look at the bottom 20 performers in the group and see what's going on with them. Why are they performing bad? And who are they?
Right.
So they did it and they discovered that the worst performers are actually rural areas. So that information gave them the ability to then drill deeper into the data and figure out that it was the ad copy that was kind of like not connecting as well with the people that live in these areas as it was with people that live in cities. So they were able to use that information to present it to their client and become more of a strategic partner. It gave them something that's tangible, I would say. It's not really tangible because it's still data, but it's something that doesn't lie. It's factual information. They were able to present it to their client and get them to buy into their idea of changing the copy. So they did, and those locations got better performance. Their CPC went down, and them changing that and helping those 20 locations actually improved the performance of the whole group. So now everyone, like the whole group's performance improved, not just only those locations. So like it was just beneficial to them, and to the
Yeah.
client, of course.
Well, that's
And
crazy. And if you just think about that one example, there are thousands of businesses, franchises in many different industries who could benefit from that type of benchmarking. So it sounds like they were not benchmarking against the industry, they were benchmarking all of their locations against one another. Like there's so many different ways you can benchmark. So that's a really cool story. Yeah.
yeah, especially
Yeah.
because they were running the same type of ads, the same creatives, everything was the same, right? So
Yeah.
just the location was different. So that
Yeah.
was really interesting. I was really, really excited when I heard that from the partner that they shared that with us and how it
Yeah.
helped them better help their client.
Yeah. And I know I've heard just through the community that you guys have created of, the partners like my agency who are in the program. A lot of times we're sharing success stories with each other about, we got a prospect to join, we were able to help kind of point out some areas for improvement, and then we were able to build a brand new relationship, and get a new client as a result of the benchmarking process. Let's shift gears and talk about the other component to the benchmark groups, which are the surveys. That to me has a whole different set of value, right? And so talk about that extension of your program that you guys created.
It kind of came natural to us because we were always running surveys as a company. We've run more than 2,000 surveys so far now. It's been part of our marketing for like 5, 6 years. And it's just a way for us to connect with people and then quote them in the reports that we were building and get all these insights into various different topics in various different areas of your business, like sales, marketing, finance. So, like, we were always doing it. But then we figured we could connect it to the benchmarks because benchmarks leave one big question unsolved, right? You get a glimpse into performance, you find out where you stand, what's good, what's bad, how you should be doing, but you don't know what you need to do to achieve that type of performance, right? You don't have a benchmark for insights, for example. So that's when we figured we can connect surveys to benchmark groups. So if a benchmark group is around digital marketing, we can connect a survey that talks about digital marketing, what people are doing for their digital marketing. So we can find out both. And with that kind of connection, we can find out this is what a typical company should perform like, and this is what they should be doing. So we're trying to make the tool one huge data hub of not just performance data, but also insight data. So any company can come in, find out how should they be performing and what they should do in order to achieve that performance. So it's just giving more and more value to everyone, basically. And everyone that joins helps everyone else, right? So like every new addition is just like, we're not only helping ourselves, but everyone else is going to benefit from it, right? So
Yeah.
that's kind of like the whole goal that we have. And why we decided to partner with agencies is because we're not experts in all these different industries, right? We don't have these connections. We have a list of people who subscribe to be alerted of new surveys coming out, but that's kind of it, right? Like we typically have a lot of agencies answering our surveys, but we don't have insights into other industries. But our agency partners do. Like they're experts in manufacturing, they're experts in healthcare, they're experts in all these various industries, and they have connections. So they can help us enrich the data, help their clients better, find out new things about their audience, and their audience can benefit because they can learn new things about their industry that they haven't had access to it. And the best part is that this is always up to date. It's not a typical report that gets published once a year and it's outdated immediately, right? This is continuing to be improved, to be enriched. So like every new person that joins, that takes one of the surveys, joins one of the groups, is just helping more and more people, not just themselves. And that's what I really love about it.
I think you really hit on something big there, because as marketers, we all know the trusted sources year after year that are going to come out with that annual report, and we wait. We know when it's coming out every year and we wait for it to come out. We all download it the same day. We all sift through it and dig out the nuggets, because it's so important for us to be able to say, like, are we doing a good job with our clients? Are our clients getting the most value they can get out of working with us? And the ability to access that data on a regular basis and see how it's changing, because the platforms change, right? Google changes their rules and their algorithms, and each social platform does that. And if you're not keeping up with that monthly and quarterly, and having to wait until the end of the year, oh my goodness, it really does make a big difference for us when we're trying to manage strategies and budgets and programs. And that's not a knock on what these companies have been doing before. I mean, that was the way to do it, right? But I think you
Yep.
guys have just helped to evolve that and bring it forward in a big way, which is super helpful and very appreciated by agencies and marketing
And
departments. Yeah.
even if you participated in one of these reports, in one of these surveys, you typically would have to wait several months, even longer, to get insight into the whole report, into the data, everything. Like there was just like, hey, you take this survey, then you wait, you probably forget about it, right? And then you get an email like, oh, the report is out. Like, what is all this about? You have no idea. But with
Yeah.
our surveys, when you complete it, you get access to the preliminary data. So you can instantly see the data that's here already, and you can come back to that data next week, in a month, in 2 months, or like in worst case scenario when the report is out in like 3 months. But it doesn't stop there. It's always going to live. It's always going to accumulate more and more responses and just enrich the data. It's instantly accessible, which is a big difference to the other types of reports out there.
Well, and another area that we haven't really talked about much is budgeting. On a more strategic marketing level, it's a big stress point, for our clients. They're not sure how to approach it. They're not sure how much, if there's like a rule of thumb they should be following. But the number one thing that comes up in any conversation we have with a brand is, how do I prove an ROI? How can I take something to my board or my investors or to C-level leadership and show them that we're getting a return on the money that we're spending on marketing? Like how does that get tracked and measured? And so I think even on a strategic budgeting level, there are ways and pieces of data that you guys are helping to gather that as marketers, we can use that to put together an ROI and a business model that the leadership teams can use. To me, that is very valuable data, because at the end of the day, if you're spending on money on marketing and you can't track what it's doing for you,
Why are you
that's a
doing it?
fail. Why are you doing it? Right?
Right.
You can't improve something you're not measuring or tracking. I don't remember which wise person said that, but it wasn't me. I'm copying that from someone else. But it's so important and it's so skipped. I mean, just basic things like going to a trade show. Maybe you spend 50 or 60 or $75,000 on that and you don't even know what it did for you, right? If you're not tracking that, it's just a big lost opportunity for
Yep.
companies. Is there anything that you want to make sure that we emphasize about the benchmark groups or surveys that we haven't covered already?
I think we covered a really good
Okay.
portion of it. I don't know if there's anything that I would add. I think we did a good job.
Well, if you are an agency or a freelance marketer and you're interested in the program, you definitely need to go to their website and check it out. They do offer a certification for the benchmarking process. Fedor is one of the people who teaches the course. It's all delivered online. It was really helpful for me and my team to go through that process.
Glad to hear it.
Okay, I have some fun questions to end off the conversation. If you're open to these, let's see.
I'm always open to fun
He's like,
questions.
we'll find out, Terri. Let's go for it. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay, what is your favorite trip you've ever taken?
It's the hard one. Actually, it's a trip during COVID when everything was shut down here. We had a lockdown for I think 3 months. And after that, being locked up for 3 months, you want to go somewhere, but you can't visit other countries. So we actually went camping down south into our national park called Tara. And it's the first time I ever went camping, and it was for a week-long trip. So it was just so much fun, and I fell in love with nature even more and camping even more. So I tend to at least go once a year for at least a couple of days, just hang out by the fire, talk stories, cook food on the grill. So that's probably one of the best trips I ever had. But I'm going to travel more now, so I might have an update to this story in the
Okay.
future.
Well, good. I've seen you post pictures on LinkedIn about hiking and camping. So you're a hiker too, right?
I wouldn't really call myself a hiker, but I'm not opposed to walking a lot.
Okay. Got it. Well,
I
that's good
I'm
because that's what hiking is.
Yep. I'm
Yeah,
more into camping, and if it takes a longer walk to reach that good spot, I'm open to it, but not really looking forward to it.
that's funny. Okay. Well, I hope you're a music fan because my next question is about music. If there was a musical group or artist who you'd be able to see in concert, and this group or person could be dead or alive, this would be like your dream concert.
Uh, it has to be Linkin Park. I grew up with them.
Okay.
I'm so sad that I never attended one of their shows. But yeah, I'm now hoping to attend the Red Hot Chili Peppers concert.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, I actually attended one concert, and it was the first concert I ever attended that's like a bigger show. It was a singer from Kazakhstan. I think no one ever heard of him. His name is Dimash Kudaibergen, and he is just out of this world. He's probably the best singer on the planet, and no one knows about him because he just doesn't sing popular music. But the way he sings, it's mind-boggling. So if anyone is interested, go check him out.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone has heard something similar in their lives to this guy.
Wow. What kind of music does he sing? Like, could you even categorize it? Or is it so different?
He sings as deep as Pavarotti and as high as Celine Dion, probably even higher. So he sings opera, he sings like Celine Dion songs. So it's really strange, you know.
Wow.
uh, his concert is not that fun. You don't go up and dance and stuff. You're just listening and not believing what you're hearing. That's
Okay.
how I would explain it.
Oh, well, I think I need to go find him. That sounds pretty interesting. I love music. I like listening to all kinds of different types of music too.
Really?
Hmm. Yeah.
I would love to
Okay.
hear your answer to that question.
Who I would see? Oh, well, the Beatles would be my answer. I still have a chance to see Paul McCartney or Ringo Starr, and I would like to do that because the chances are probably running out. The best one I've ever been to is we saw the U2 concert in the Sphere in Las Vegas last
Mhm.
October, and that was amazing. It was so good. I love U2. They're my favorite band, other
I
than
can
the
only
Beatles.
imagine how
Hmm.
good that was.
Yeah, it was really good. Yeah. I think a lot of people your age, like my kids, hate U2 because of the whole iPhone thing where they put all the music on people's phone and took up space, but they're my favorite. I absolutely love them. Do you know
Um,
about this scandal?
no, no.
That was
First
probably,
time hearing.
I'm going to say it was like maybe 15 years ago when they released their album. They thought they were doing a nice thing and for free put it on the new iPhone software release. And it made everyone under the age of 20 furious because it took up space on their phone with
They could
music they'd
delete it,
never
right?
heed of before.
So they got something for free. Why were they so pissed off? Come on.
And it's you too on top of it. I'm like, it's a good album.
That was interesting.
Yeah. Next question is about a book. I don't know if you're a reader or not, but do you find yourself like recommending a book to people that has really helped you or and it can be business or personal, any genre.
Yeah, there's two books they're kind of related to business and mindset. The first one I would recommend is Cold Star Problem by Andrew Chen. I really like that book. It gave me insights into business and how big companies grew and became huge companies that I just wasn't aware of. It tells the story of Uber, of TikTok, Instagram, so like Facebook as well. So it just like talks about how they leveraged network effects and how they exploded into these mega giants and also like some negative effects of network effects as well. So it's a really an interesting book. In terms of kind of like mindset and just growing as a person, I'm now reading Ultimate Power by Anthony Robbins. Actually, my sales coach, Rick, he recommended that book to me. I
Hmm.
was first skeptical, and but as I read it, it's really awesome, and I'm hooked on it. So I gotta finish that one. But I really want to have myself in a mental space where I can just like digest all the content, make notes. That's how I read. So I don't read that often. I don't read every day because I just don't have the mental bandwidth for it. So I
Hmm.
put aside time on the weekend to do it. But then I go for like 60 pages or something and just digest it properly. And yeah, my favorite kind of like fantasy book is obviously Harry Potter. I read it 3 times when I was a kid. I was really hooked on that. I read one whole book in a day. So when it came out, it was The Order of the Phoenix. That one was really
Oh,
good.
yeah, that one is really good. Oh my gosh, look out because when my team hears that you're a Harry Potter fan, they're all gonna hit you up about that. We have a lot of Harry Potter fanatics at Marketing Refresh.
I went down the rabbit hole of Harry Potter. I even played that new game, Hogwarts Legacy, and it was awesome.
Okay,
It's the game I really wanted when I was a kid, and I got it when I was 30.
that's
Better late than
awesome.
never, right?
Yeah, yeah. This is my last question and it's about work. So what is your favorite job that you've ever had?
This one that I'm doing right now. If I had other favorite jobs, I would still probably be doing them, but this one is my favorite because it just keeps evolving. Even though my kind of like on paper role doesn't change, what I do evolves and change, and I get to make decisions that kind of like change my role as well. So like it's constantly evolving, doing different types of things, different activities, marketing, kind of like a bit of sales, talking with people on calls, meeting new people, networking. It kind of like ticks all the boxes. I didn't even know that I had those boxes, but it started ticking them as I started working here in this role, you know?
That's an interesting comment, but I think that's why when you're at the earlier stage of your career, it's important to try different things because you may not realize that something is ticking that box for you or that you even had that box, like you said. I love that. That's
And
fun.
if someone is a person that tried different things, that's me. I tried like almost everything. I was a bodybuilder. I was a fitness coach. I did a bit of like, I wouldn't call it modeling, but like photograph shoots. That I did that as well. I also played tennis. I had a band when I was younger. So I was a waiter at one point. I worked in a casino store. So I tried like everything, literally.
Oh
It's
my
crazy.
gosh. You were probably stressing out your family and friends there for a bit. They
Yeah,
made
I
it.
was considered the black sheep of the family, and now we're at a point where everyone comes to me for advice. So I have no idea how I got here.
Well, it's trying all those different things. I'm sure it sounds like you gained a lot of really pretty cool life experiences. That's interesting. And you know what I love about doing these interviews with our guests? Just about everyone has said the job that they're doing now is their favorite job. The only person who didn't say that said being a dad is his favorite job.
Not
That one's
yet.
kind of hard to combat. That was like a winning answer for sure. But
Yeah, that's true. That's
I'm
true.
I'm glad to hear you like your role so much.
I might have the same answer for you in a couple of years. Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
Stay tuned. Well, thank you so much for joining me today and kind of sharing what the program that you're managing is all about. If people want to get in touch with you directly and hear more, what is the best way for them to connect with you? We've got people who are in sales leadership roles listening, but we also have other marketers listening. How can people connect with you directly? What's the best way?
LinkedIn is the easiest way.
So for our listeners, we're going to be posting several links in our show notes. We'll have a link to the DataBox benchmark groups and the Explorer tool as well. And then we'll have a link to Fedor's LinkedIn as well. Thank you everybody for listening today. Thanks again for joining us. And I really appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. And I look forward to connecting with everyone.
Thank you for listening to B2B Marketing Methods. Please be sure to follow us on your favorite podcast channel and leave us a review. We'd love to hear from you and connect. You can find me on LinkedIn or visit our company website at marketingrefresh.com.